morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the African Do podcast, to our first recording of 2025. And for this first recording, we have a very good friend who wears very many hats, Madam June Gachui. June, welcome to the African Do podcast.
Thank you. The last time I was called Madam was by guys of Gawa, so this is a nice
We're giving you the honor of your office.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So June is first and foremost for me a very old friend, but more importantly, she wears very many hats, and I think she wears them all very well.
Thank you.
First, should I do the intro, or do you want me to do it? Let me take a stab at the intro.
Yeah.
First, she's a lawyer and an IP lawyer at that, and then she's a musician. She's an actress. She's a radio presenter. And all these many hats sit very well in the entrepreneurial space. And I think we have a lot to learn from her. So, June, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Leonard.
Excellent. I think let's get this started. Let's start. I don't know if we want to start with your story from the beginning, but because you weren't an entrepreneur at the beginning. You first had a full corporate career.
Yes.
When I met you, you were working at Total.
Yes.
And you were a legal counsel in Total, Kenya.
Yeah.
And she's a fluent French speaker also. Yeah. And so that I think... so maybe let's just talk about the law, and how you deviated to IP law specifically because you went to master that. And then we'll kick off from there and marry with the rest.
Great. So first of all, thanks. It's an honor to be here and tell this part of my story. I studied law as my parents asked me to. I lie. I'm the one who wanted to be a lawyer, and really got a great chance to go to LSE in London, which was one of my first 6 choices, and they gave me an unconditional offer.
Yep.
Law was very different when I was studying it. It's not what I had seen on TV. So I was very confused while I was in school. But God is always good. I got out, graduated, and Dad had already said, you're coming home to do this Kenya School of Law thing before you decide what else you want to do. Yeah. So just come finish it and then you can make your decisions. And I'm glad he did that because I think if it hadn't been for that window, I may have taken a different path.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home, did my School of Law and started working in various law firms before I eventually got this job at Total. And while I was there, I was performing because I never stopped performing from school. Yes. So whether it was singing or acting, that was sort of like my stress reliever. And it was just nice. So I got to start interacting with a different demographic of people, not your corporate guys, but now your creative industry players. And inevitably, every week, there would be one artist, one model, one somebody who was offered a contract. And they're like, but you're a lawyer. Ebu,
look at this thing for me.
You just... And I'm like, okay. And I would look at it with my red pen. No, tell them to change this. And it came very easily to me.
Yeah.
And I wondered, this is interesting. I would never charge, but I would do it and I would ask myself, so if I wasn't here, does this mean you don't have anyone to go to? Or does it mean you don't have money to pay the people who are out there? So I started investigating slowly while I was still at Total. Is this person available? Is this entertainment lawyer, IP lawyer, media lawyer? Is this person, does this person exist?
Yes.
And quickly found out that there was a bit of a gap in the space. And the great friend that I call Philip Coulson was doing this kind of work, but he would do it pro bono.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember, there was a case that Nameless Anissa's song was involved in. Mm-hmm. And I think there was somebody in South Africa who had sampled it without permission. Mm-hmm. So Philip Coulson stepped in, as I have read, to handle that matter. But I said, okay, so that's Philip Coulson. He's like, up here.
Yeah.
If we can't access Philip Coulson, who are we going to get?
In the middle, yeah.
So I thought, okay, let me start doing some research. And that's what sort of kicked off my journey within the IP space. So I did the Jungu thing and I quit my job. And my father was like, Ata pension imeenda. I'm like, no pension, I can hopefully collect in a few years. But let me explore by interning in various places to see if this is just a fun weekend hobby or if it's something that's viable. So I did do that work. I did those hours, and I interned at the Kenya Copyright Board, which was an office within the Solicitor General's. So I'd go to Sharia House every day and sit with Dr. Maricela Ouma and just have a seat right by her feet, literally, and started learning from her. And then I was at the great MCSK for a few months as well, trying to understand the music copyright side of things.
Yeah.
And then after that, I got an opportunity to work with a film and television lawyer in Australia for about 6 weeks. And I met her through Rotary, which was another weird connection.
Yeah.
But she was like, come, if you want to learn, I work out of my house, come. And I thought, who works out of their house? And then I found she had a whole practice, worked on a feature film while I was there, understood now the film and television side of things. While I was there, applied to Iseme Kamau Maema, asked them if they would host me for a couple of months to understand now the corporate IP, patents, trademarks. So by the time that period of time, which was almost a year, ended, I had touched a little bit of the various sides of IP, enough to know, I think I can do this thing. Now I just need the academic theory support to be able to say, okay, I know what I'm talking about. And I got admitted to George Washington University to do my master's. So that's now when everything sort of started or got formalized.
Okay.
Came back home, set up JGIP Consultants. That was in 2010.
Yeah.
So we're turning 15 this year, and the rest of this, yeah, can you imagine?
15, eh?
15, man.
Oh man, it
I'm
seems
a teenager.
like just the other day. Okay, excellent.
Yes.
So let's. You have set very good context, but you straddle two worlds in the sense that you're an IP lawyer, but you're also a performer.
Yes.
And you perform musically, but you also act, and you also are on radio. And then, of course, now, stemming from JGIP Consultancy is JGIP Events, where you have started to curate. I know it's been a journey of a few years of curating
musical experiences.
A set collection of different musical experience, which I assume are very well covered from the IP front.
Yes.
And you're now developing these brand assets, let's call them that, brand assets of JGIP, and they are growing.
Yes.
And they each have, but they are a bit diverse. And one would argue that you're doing very many things.
Doing too much. I'm doing too much.
And your dad, who I know you had a very close relationship, why he here today? What do you think you'd have to say?
That's a great question. He would say what you're saying, maybe that I'm doing too much, but I would have an answer for that.
Let's hear the answer then.
My answer is, like any new business, if you're really thinking about not being too arrogant, you would do what we call a proof of concept. Okay. And you would want to know if the thing that you think is amazing, is beautiful, is magical, and everybody should come for and support and give you all their money, does it really work?
Yes.
Do the systems behind it really work? Are you targeting the right people? Are you pricing your tickets correctly? Are you paying your people the right amount of money? And I have all these beautiful ideas, but I don't always execute all of them or implement all of them. So I decided to try and do a proof of concept couple of years of minimum of 9 gigs, 9 productions in a year. Because I realized when I first started doing these productions, it would take us 6 months to do one show. I'm like, this is not viable at all. Yeah. So isn't there a better way of doing it? That's what triggered this new JGIP events vibe that you're seeing, where we have a calendar in January and we're telling you, this is what we're going to offer you for the full year. Sponsor, you want to jump on board? Let's have a conversation. But the train is moving. And that's the other thing we started to realize, that we would go to sponsors to ask for a conversation about, can you give us something in cash or in kind? Too late. And most of them would say, nah, you're coming. Your gig is in 1 month. We've already made our plan. Where's your calendar? And I'd go, see, now I'm coming. Then they're like, it's too late. So just the way a corporate would have an annual budget and an annual plan for their strategy for their year, where is ours? It shouldn't change just because we're in the entertainment space. So can I bring some of that learning that I got from the corporate world, from being in business myself, and bring it to the entertainment space and make decisions, sometimes painful ones, and say, this is the budget, this is what we can pay, but the gig is happening. And I think that's the answer I would give, that I wanted to try and test.
Yes.
As a result, some things will fall off because they're not economically viable, or they're not really impactful. Because for me, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
In the overall journey of creating these experiences, I want to be able to look back and go, yeah, that was a special one.
Yeah.
That was the one.
Yeah.
This
Have any fallen off?
Yes. For this year, we've dropped Motown in Nairobi, which was our oldest property.
Yes.
We've done 11 years of Motown in Nairobi.
Okay.
So I feel like it can take a pause.
Yes.
It can rest.
Yes.
And we grow one or two others that I've been curating. So Bear Sessions is what has now replaced Motown in Nairobi. And it's a smaller audience, but it's original music, which is something I haven't really done.
Yes.
I've been doing mostly covers. To your point about there being diverse properties, it's because the audience is just as diverse. And the person who started listening to me when I was in my early 20s
yes.
is still my audience member today.
Yes.
Which means we've had to grow and evolve with
together.
them. But I also want to attract the 20-year-olds today. What do I have to do very intentionally to open a door for that audience to be able to afford a ticket or save up for a ticket or ask their parents for a ticket, but show up for the gig, play with younger artists, younger musicians who they already absolutely love. And by default, they get to know Auntie June, who is now in her 28th year of performing.
Yeah.
So it's not just we should do a gig. There's a lot of thinking and sort of brainstorming that goes behind the creation and the execution of the properties. So that's what I'm trying to do. I think ultimately, if we can do 6 gigs a year, that's what I'm aiming for.
6.
6 is the number, because that means 2 months to prepare, 2 months to allow your pocket to rest, and miss us enough to go, when's the next one?
Yeah.
But if I'm in your face every month, you might also be like, okay, we saw you 2 days ago, we're all right. But also the variety of people in the audiences is proof enough that people are hungry for good musical experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I can say quite authoritatively that for you, and listening to you talk and the conversations we've had in the past, that in your world, brand building trumps profit.
Yes.
Is that a fair comment?
It is such a fair comment. As painful as it is.
As painful as it is. So you build the brand and you let it gain life.
Yes.
I dare say that's a very un-African thing, in the sense that very few African artists or African entrepreneurs have the luxury of building brand. Yes, brand is the ultimate, because brand is the experience. It's ultimately what people are paying for.
Yeah.
But very few people have the ability to ride the wave and let's call it what it is, lose the money, but still put up a good show. I can tell you some stories from the restaurant front about that.
Yes.
So how do you pull that off?
A lot of prayer, fasting. It's not easy, Leonard. I think I present a good front, to be honest, but it is. And my family can tell you, my immediate family can tell you just how difficult it is. I can't tell you how many times my mom says, what can we do? What can we do? Do you need help? I don't want you being picked up by the police because you haven't paid bills, which has happened. I won't lie about that.
Yeah.
And the perception that one has money, I think, is about presenting a good front, right?
Yes.
And we've heard expressions like "fake it till you make it." I'm all about that. Just like,
you're in that WhatsApp group.
I'm the admin of that WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
I'm not in it. I am the admin.
Yeah.
Because I think it can't be this difficult. This is the thing I've refused to accept. It cannot be this difficult. I saw a video of one of the first gigs we did at Michael Joseph Center.
Yes.
We had 2 packans, those two lights that burn your eye. Yeah. You can't even see audience. That was it. And we're like, we have lights. The pride I had, because before we never used to have lights at a gig. But we'd have a few instruments, and what we started with and what we can achieve and create now, for me is the growth. But it has taken a decade to get there.
Yeah.
So how do I fund the gigs that I do without corporate sponsorship, which is the big question? I work my behind off.
Yes.
And I will MC a gig here, there. I will get consultancy gigs. I will make sure the stuff that I do well, that pays me well, will be a running stream of income.
Of revenue, yeah.
And revenue. So what do I do? If I get, let's say, 100K for example, I will divide that 100K into 3. Okay? I will take a certain amount, put it away for my family and raising them and feeding them and taking them to school. I will take a bit of money for myself because I also need to live.
Exactly.
And the rest I will put in a fixed deposit account and just say it's gone. So I don't have 100K, I have 50,000 bob. Okay? That 50K goes and starts just growing its own grandchildren there.
Yeah.
For the day I decide,
want to do a gig.
We're now doing a gig. I'm not starting with 0. I'm starting with something that has already been growing. So if I can get 5 or 6 of those kind of nice, meaty corporate gigs in a month, then that feeds the kitty to do this, my CSR work.
So in essence, you live off it, the ecosystem. You have built an ecosystem.
Yes.
That in that ecosystem, there's your IP knowledge as an IP lawyer. You're an MC. I forgot that bit.
Yes.
You're an MC. You're an actress. So whatever pays, let's go. We'll put the money aside and let's. Very nice.
Because this thing of sitting and expecting people to just fund your enjoyment, it's not a thing.
Okay.
It's not a thing we should start to rely on.
Yes.
And I'm always, as much as I do ask corporates to support, very rarely do I get the support I ask for. And people think, this one must know everybody. I don't actually. And even if I know them, that doesn't equal they should give me their money. If our brands aren't aligned, I shouldn't be taking their money. Okay?
So let's delve into that world of corporate.
Yes.
So there are several reasons, but we know there is corporate spend in the market. There's corporate spend. So what is it? Is it that the dots don't connect? Is it that
I think that's the biggest problem.
The corporate players don't understand, or where is it? Because you sometimes see a clamor to rush and sponsor a foreign artist, or a show with a foreign artist. But a fraction of that, or even let's say a 10th of what they're spending to bring in the foreign artist will not be spent. I know it's changing for the better, fortunately, over the last 2 decades and a bit that I've been in this space.
Yeah.
You're seeing it changing for the better. But what is your take on it?
So I think a lot of it is individualistic.
Okay.
That's been my observation. So across the different brands, and I think like corporate, the same people sort of do the rows, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I haven't been in that space for a long time. So my 150% goes into my little baby that I'm raising, like a 15-year-old. But when you have been in the corporate space and you do the rounds to your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 type companies, then you see the Mudachi trend. I say, he's now moved to Nini, I can see.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, but it's also not the best thing. What
stifles innovation, doesn't it?
It does, because I do want you to leave a bit of your wonderfulness in corporate A.
Yes.
When you join, we should feel your presence. We should feel the fact that you've come in and you've added value. But your mudachiness should not continue, usurp and overwhelm and take over the brand you've joined.
Yes.
Because then that's a problem, right? What happens when you leave? It would ideally collapse. So for me, that's been the thing I have observed that is problematic, because there's just the right amount of ego and the right amount of intelligence and the right amount of, I really want to do well.
Yes.
That has to be just the right portions. And it's not always the case. So what happens if I've had a long-standing relationship with Mudachi Inc. And he has supported me since album launch till after 5 years, then Mudachi left and it is now June Inc. And June is like, who's that, babe?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not quite what I want to do. Fair point. But then if I was 100% reliant on Mudachi Inc. and his money, what happens to the thing I was building? It was too reliant. In fact, it's like as soon as you leave, the thing I was building drops because I didn't plan to have alternative streams of revenue. So even for sponsors, what's the end goal? You sponsor to make me self-sustaining. You should never sponsor just because. So what's the correct amount that allows me to put structures in place, and for how long? So that then I can have this property live and breathe on its own. And if you want to continue because there's brand aligning and it's the same audience you're targeting, you have a new property or a new product you want to pitch, then come. We continue working together. But it should never be without me. You can't. Never.
Interesting. And then one specific corporate comes to mind that was quite big in classical music and then jazz and now golf. And
it might change again.
And it might change again depending on. Okay, so that's a very good take on that. And hopefully, I guess I don't think I try to not look at these things from a right and wrong perspective. And more from the perspective that it just is. So, and I guess it takes people like you who are doing, to kind of change the narrative. And it's good to see, it's really exciting for me to see that whole landscape of live performances, festivals, how it's evolving. Nashinsky has Shin City, Soul, the Sauti Soul has Soulfest as an annual thing. And then you have the likes of Blankets and Wine with Mudhoni starting to emerge and grow. And all this is really exciting because it is, when you understand the ecosystem at the back, sound, instruments, stage, lighting, security,
which has been a big issue over the last few months.
This muscle as a nation is now being flexed. And people are now getting, and the quality of events is phenomenal.
It is. It is.
Yes, there's always, there's going to be drama, which I think is life. But generally, when I look at events, when I started doing events early in my career, very early in my career, and I look at the quality of the events now, and we've really come a long way.
We have. I tell you what I think the risk is. And I'll say it now, and we can watch this episode in like 5 or 10 years and tell me if I'm right. My concern is big is not always better.
Okay.
And I have a demographic of audience members who have told me, hey, by the way, if you guys are more than 200, I'm not coming. I can't.
Oh, really?
Can't deal. I don't want to be wondering what's happening with my wallet. I want to sit. I want to be able to enjoy myself. And that feedback, even if it came from 4 people only, I have to listen to it. Because it means we've all opted to look for 5,000 plus people. That means you're going to lose a demographic of people who are, let's say, they're 35 to 50, who want to have an experience, who have spending power. Who can buy a boti there and not even stress on top of paying the 5K or 10K you're asking them for. All they're asking you for is, please don't bring too many other people. So what does that make me think? The same corporate who might now not give me the 2 million I'm asking for, let's say. I go and tell them, I don't even need your 2 million right now. But you have a few clients you might want to tune nicely. So you bring them. If my show is on Saturday, come on Friday. The Friday night is yours. If it's 100 or 200 people you want to tune, bring them. We'll do the show for you. That's a different type of sponsorship because what do I need the money for? Help me pay for setup, help me pay for gear, help me pay my artists a good fee. That's it, because we've done the work. Your money is not helping me curate a concept, come up with the idea, choose the music. That's already happening. What can you do so that your people, again, the brand alignment I'm talking about. So I have to stop thinking, platinum sponsorship, 5 million shillings. They've seen it, they've thrown them out, they've thrown those proposals out. They're not reading them anymore. And I probably wouldn't if I sat in some of those offices. Who are these people who can bank with Bank X, who can are building properties with wherever there are clients to corporates who want to appreciate them? Jan is a great month to do that. We've closed our financial year. If it wasn't for you, our business would not be what it is. We just want to say thank you. Fine. Buy them a bottle of whiskey. Buy them what are you buying that this person doesn't already have or can't afford? They can have an experience that was curated just for them. You understand? So that also takes care of a market that everyone is now ignoring because we are going to thousands of people. And these guys are like, what? We are not coming. You want our money, but we're not coming. So I think that's the only rider. And we need to be mindful of that because yes, we are a very young nation. And I love the ecosystem muscle that you're speaking about. It's growing because then fashion designers, makeup artists,
stylists,
caterers, caterers, not caterers, caterers, transport people like roadies, graphics guys, photographers, videographers, the poster people, like there's so big an ecosystem that is growing because of this one event.
Yes.
But there's also an audience that we are completely leaving behind. The ones who tell me, email me, June. I'm like, you're not on IG. They're like, what is that? I'm not on IG. And I'm not on TikTok. And I'm not going there to find your poster. Email me or WhatsApp me and tell me what's happening. I will send you the money and I'll come.
Haya. Sasa. You've unpacked some big ticket items. And I want to take one of them and we run with it for a few minutes. Venues. So there's this whole... I think the people who have been left behind is the venues. Because you're talking about the evolution of this ecosystem. But I think the one thing that is holding back our industry from real explosion is that on the capital investment side, we still, all the things that we have mentioned, Solfest, Shin City, Blankets and Wine, you and what you're doing, both big and small and different sizes. I think the missing link is the venues, in the sense that we still have a very big build-up, pull-down culture.
Yes.
And it's extremely expensive.
Very much.
So makes the cost of one event to make money. The break-even point is so high.
Sorry, what's that? What is that phrase? Break what?
The break-even point.
I know break. I don't know even.
So the point at which you now transition into profitability with your events is still too high because the amount of building. So let's speak about the opportunity that is there for venues.
Happily. Look, venues have been an afterthought. Entertainment at venues has been a second afterthought. So somebody will build a place and go, it'd be nice. We'll throw a band there in the corner.
The corner.
It's always the corner. I'm like, why must
where the corner?
Who put baby in a corner? Like, why? Why is that the space you have given us? Have you seen how fabulous we are? So I'm always like, oh my God, why didn't you consult people who know sound?
When you're building,
before even when it's on that blueprint thing. And then we can tell you what this space can do. I took a trip to New York once and we went for a MasterCard event that had Caesar performing and had a fireside chat. Caesar was just blowing up at the time. And it was a warehouse. And I was like, we are going where? I've worn my good shoes. They're like, don't worry. Man, the things they did with this space, I was just like, I had to keep reminding myself, we're in a warehouse. But they were able to transform the different corners, the different spaces, the center. Things were hanging from the metal bars. I don't know what. It was so dope and so artistic, so creative. But also they had figured out acoustics. They had figured out sound. Nothing was, that guy. Thing we can never stand if you like good sound. They had thought about those things when that warehouse. And the next 2 days, like the thing was done. It was just a space with nothing. So if you want to bring in furniture, you can. Now, if that space is going to turn around a profit for the person who owns it, they have to think about the multiple uses. It's a multi-purpose space. So it can hold a conference. You can go watch a movie there. You can have an art exhibition. You can have concerts. You can have sort of birthday parties. You can do whatever you want. The place is never busy. But it doesn't look cute. It's functional. Your job is to make it look cute, which is much easier than I have to find somebody to hire trussing from, stage panels, I don't know what, cables, generator, all the things that eat almost 80% of your budget. Okay? So that experience for me is what made me ask myself, and I have asked it multiple times, why don't we have a space like that? And then I'm asking myself, if it's not, why don't we have? The answer is we don't have it because nobody has thought about it. Then we might be the ones who have to build this space. And the venues that have hosted us, and we're extremely grateful for you guys, it's not always ideal for them or for us. Because we come in, we eat popcorn in their auditorium, and then it's a mess. We leave their space, in a very disrespectful way, which is not good also. So then they are less likely to say yes the next time.
And then some don't allow drinks
or food. And then your guys are like, what? I can't eat and drink while I'm having the show.
Yes.
Then others, you can't dance. What do you mean? How are you taking me to a show with Lingala music or Rumba?
And I
can't get up and dance. You see? So if you just look at what a life cycle of one concert is, what are the things audience members have started to get used to doing? And this is why we take them outside, right? We take them to a space, but then, hey, Mother Nature has done her thing. We can't actually predict now which month will have rain. We tried to do an event last year, May, and the place was flooded. It was the crazy rain that was April showers that went all the way into June last year.
Yes.
Completely a factor we never thought about. So we set up and we're just seeing this dark spot coming on the carpet. We're like, is that water? We're not going to be able to do this show now. So we had to cancel, reschedule to 3 weeks later when the weather had. So my point is, why don't we have a space we could have just picked up that gig and moved to? Because yes, we want a variety of spaces, let me be very clear, that can give the audience members a different experience. An open air festival type concert, yes. An indoor auditorium,
bespoke,
sit down, bespoke. But still I want to be able to have my nice wine or my whiskey or my whatever it is. Even my milkshake while I'm watching the show. Like a movie theater. But then the stages are never the right size. The audience are sitting nosebleed section. So there are a lot of things that might need us, and when I say us, I mean those of us who are concert or event producers, to come to and say, okay, how much can you remove? And we do it almost like a collective. This is not an original idea. I heard Abel Mutua speak about it a few, I think maybe 2 months ago. And he was saying, we just do this thing then, because who are we waiting for?
Agreed.
Who are we waiting for to do this for us? Because maybe somebody may have land, so we now model it after real estate developers. So you have a piece of land, instead of building up another 100 apartments that nobody's renting, can we have a conversation with you about putting up a space that can then turn around a profit, and that we all have shareholding in, and almost like a timeshare of sorts, right? Because I now have my calendar, you have your calendar. Let's just slot it in. And that means Monday to Monday, not like some of the other venues where Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is for churches. Or corporates. And then we only get Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Kwani, who said that's the only time for people to enjoy entertainment? People go for movie nights on Monday. That's actually the day that is the ticket price is the best. So that's perfect for date night. We don't have to wait for a weekend. So I think there's enough observation, learning that we can compile and say, this thing doesn't need to take too much money or too much time. So that's my observation. I think
we still have to come back to the capital. Someone
capital,
still has to write the check.
That's why I'm saying, take the model.
Yeah.
Who is that person? But what's the business case for it? Not just it will make us happy, it will make our life easier. And that's why I referenced the space in New York. It's not that it wasn't busy. So what other things can be done in that space? If most of us, our peak concert time is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That is the peak for musical events. Me, I'll take Monday. Give me Monday. I'll take Monday. And I will do my little bespoke one. So Monday is not ever going to be empty.
I hear you saying that there's a strong case. I hear you. I think you've packaged the business case quite well. And I think it's just the holders of capital to appreciate that business case. Because let me give you an example.
And disposable capital. Because it doesn't stop them from doing the other things. And we know they are there. They are there.
One of the things that I know for me is a big thing, because it used to be part of my early career, is, and I'm in awe of how it has evolved, is ticket pricing. We could not, in the early 2000s, we could not do a local artist concert. And you could, I think the cap was 500
bob, yeah.
If you try
For
and go
years.
over
Yes.
500 bob,
Yeah.
you are in trouble.
Yes.
You'll get maybe 20,
The artist
30
and
guys.
their mother and their brother
and a
and their
few guys
father.
and their family are the ones who have come to enjoy with them. But now I look at the prices and the numbers, 3.5, 4.5, and people are charging, and then 20,000 for VIP, and I say, there's a business case here,
there is.
And maybe it's a worthy challenge for us to take up.
Yeah.
And maybe I will take up that challenge and
you
see
should.
what we can
you
do
should.
around that.
And also just, I would pry a little bit more into what does the ticket price has gone up, but so have taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say, I'm very compliant. So I'll never charge 3.5 and take home 3.5.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing I don't think we speak about enough, right? My 3.5 is probably like 2.8.
Yes.
That's what I'm actually using to put back in my kitty. So I never do maths and say, oh, if I get 1,000 people, that will be 3.5 times 1,000. It's a lie. Because 16% joyo imeenda. Because I have to pay VAT now on ticket.
On performances?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. Guys, waking up, man.
Let me tell you.
Is awake.
So the bumping up of the ticket price, there's a reason behind it. It's not just we want to make more money, right? The other part of it then is when you do the maths that way, the higher you charge, the more the tax. But also, the more our bills have gone up. Because again, to the venue conversation, the power, we now need a minimum of 3-phase power. If you then have your stage lights, your screens, your sound, and everything else that's connected, one thing in the decor can make that whole
thing collapse.
Right? And these days it's that chandeliers. I don't know if you've seen them. They are so fancy.
Yeah.
The minute those things go on, their mics are struggling, crying. No.
Yeah.
It's insane what those beautiful things can do. What does that tell you? One of those things has to run on generator. You can plug everything else in.
Or I think it tells you a bigger thing. It tells you a bigger thing. That someone, and you touched on it a few minutes ago, that someone needs to sit with the users. And take notes. And then design a bespoke location
that can accommodate.
Is designed for that. And say me 7 days a week, I'm going to say I'm open for business and I have this thing. Don't worry about that because my line for the sound runs like this. The back line is
plug it in with this.
It has a backup of generator. The auditorium lights, but the stage will always be on powerful. Just
You're
because
right.
I think we had in actually the episode just before you, we had Eugene Gachui.
Yes.
And he is an interior designer. And he was explaining to us what interior design is. And it's that. That's exactly what it is. That you understand the needs of the users, the artist performing. You understand the needs of the people who are going to the audience. You understand the need for a return for the investor. And you come and take all this information and you design a bespoke space. Because even your rain thing, it rains.
Well, it rains on stages.
But it rains. You can design around that. You can say we're not the only country. We have fabulous weather. I mean, a lot of countries, global countries, would pray for the weather that we have. And yet they are able to pull off. If you're out of the country in summer, lots of outdoor events and festivals, and sometimes it does rain. Glastonbury, which is one of the largest outdoor.
In fact, the rain is necessary.
Rain comes. Rain comes,
to wake us up.
And still you go there, and the bash happens. And it's what? How many decades has Glastonbury been going on?
60s.
So I think there's a strong case there that
I agree. The design element.
Design and investment. That marriage between the capital and the design to produce a product that now turbocharges the whole entertainment space to the next level, I think is a very strong case.
And it will be profitable.
Yes.
It will be profitable. Because I think there's so many events now. I talked to my team of musicians a lot, and I go, there was a time when I just needed one guitarist, one drummer, one keyboard player, because there weren't that many gigs. Now I have 4 of each instrument minimum.
Wow.
And still, I can't find the drummer I want because this one is on tour. This one is going to play at Sauti za Busara. This one is I don't know where. This one has a studio session. This one has another gig. There's a regular gig at Gecko. Which is beautiful.
It's amazing.
Because 20 years ago,
so the creative economy is alive.
We are growing. Let me tell you, and we're not waiting for anybody else.
Nice.
And I think that's been a beautiful thing to observe in my many years in this space.
Yes.
We were so few that it was us. We're like, sorry, we are busy. We have that one gig. But it was very unlikely that there would be 2 or 3 or 4 events even on the same weekend, let alone on the same night, which is happening now. So I have comments about that, and I've spoken quite openly about them. There's a courtesy that we owe ourselves when we are in this space. Mudachi, I don't want your thing to fail.
Yes.
If you're supporting me, I'm supporting you. We don't schedule our thing on the same night.
Yes.
Let's just be honest. It's like 2 people getting married on the same day and they're best friends, and I want you on my lineup and I should be what are we doing, right? Or even on the same weekend. Why? Because we have to be appreciative of the people we're targeting. If 4K is all you have for the enjoyment this weekend, you're going to make a decision and you're going to go to one person's event. And freedom of choice is beautiful. But there's also an offense that we have committed because that person would have loved to come for Mudachi's and for June's. You've now made me choose.
Yeah.
And yet there are 365 days in the year also tuheshimiane kidogo, right? So I think for me, I'm very mindful of those things. Like I check, and that's why I'm like, let me throw the calendar out, then we can have conversations.
Then everyone can either work around my calendar or I can see theirs. And
so many days. And to your point about weather, we all shy away from the months, but they're indoor spaces.
Yes.
Maybe those ones you can only host 200 people. So do your more bespoke events in the rainy season where there's good parking, there are umbrellas, there's a covered walkway, the ceiling above the stage won't collapse.
Yeah.
Because that has happened, because of heavy rain.
Yes.
Or it's raining so much, there's a mabati and we can't hear the sound. Because the mabati and rain, we know it's a whole concert by itself.
On its own.
Yeah.
It's a whole symphony.
We didn't pay for it, man. You paid for my show, So anyway, we could speak about this for hours, but I think that the bottom line is somebody, and if you're listening, please just ukonaka small money somewhere. We can do wonders with it. Trust us. And I'm not alone in this thing. Whether it's the guys who are doing comedy, I think in Abel have a great following. They filled 6,000 people in one space. That tells you the market is there.
That's my discovery of 2023.
Yeah.
2024. I was a bit blind to the stand-up comedy scene in Kenya. But man, does it blow me away. And I mean, it's unbelievable how it has evolved.
Yeah.
And I think comedy is great.
It's medicine.
I think the seed of comedy has been planted in the right place because Nairobians, we put up with a lot of shit. Forgive my language,
true.
But we can laugh about it. And that, I think, keeps us sane to some level.
Yeah.
But that new scene, the whole, I've been seeing the guys, the stand-up collective. But
it's not new.
And it is not. But now it's, now it's, I guess, more visible.
Correct.
If that's the right word.
Yeah.
And
because you said so,
yes.
We are over 10 now. This is our 11th year.
Wow.
It's been 11 years this May since we started, because you said so, with Kina Jason Runo.
Okay.
And we started at MJC, which was 200 and something people. And we've not really grown past 400-500 because of venues, not because of people not wanting to come.
Agreed.
So maybe that's the thought process, and that it can be niche. There are Wednesday night comedy things. There are Saturday night comedy things, weekly, by the way. So you're right. It's like a new appreciation of it, I think.
Yes.
But that it's been around and that people really need this laughter thing.
Yeah.
That one, I think, is a given. The medicine of humor is definitely necessary in this our Kenya today.
So we have tackled the venues and let's go back to the law.
Okay.
Let's backtrack a bit and come to IP.
Okay.
Maybe just give us an overview of you've been in the IP space for a long time. You've studied it. Just give us first, to set context. Where are we now?
Where are we now?
In comparison to where we have come from as a nation.
So I think,
and maybe as a nation in the context of the continent.
Okay. So where are we now? We have bodies, government bodies that have mandates that are housed in a statute. Okay. What does that mean? There's a law that now says, copyright is something that is protectable, and that it has provisions and regulations and penalties if you don't do certain things. And I think that's one thing to state, because I think sometimes we assume nobody respects IP in Kenya or in Africa or in other places in the world, but we do have a statute. I think that's important to say. We have it in the Constitution. There's at least 2 or 3 provisions, if I'm not wrong, in the Constitution that protect or highlight the fact that intellectual property must be protected. So IP is usually just seen in two categories. There's industrial property, and then there's copyright. Yes. Okay? Industrial property is like, how did this come to be? What does this lever do? Yes. What does this cable do? Yes. The sort of tech aspects or engineering aspects. It also covers things like pharmaceuticals, the science behind which compounds come together and which minerals come together to make drug X or drug Y. You also look at trademark, you think of all the brands we've been talking about. JGIP itself is a trademark, right? Yes. And so when you see it, you should be able to affiliate or associate it with whoever is behind it, what you feel when you see that product on a shelf or that service is offered to you, the experience you have, that's covered under trademarks. All that is to do with the industry or the trade. Yes. The way things look, the aesthetics. We have a gazillion shapes of bottles for water or for oil, right? Each of them have their own original IP that is protected behind like industrial designs or utility models or patents or geographical indications. How do we know Kenyan tea is Kenyan tea? The way we know Ethiopian coffee is Ethiopian coffee. The way we know champagne is from this particular part of France. Yeah. So all those things are in our statutes here in Kenya, and they are protected because we also ascribe to signatories of treaties that have been negotiated in countries outside of Kenya. In the global landscape. Correct. We don't operate in a silo. Yes. What you're supposed to do is keep those principles whole, come back and implement them in a way that suits your local country. So there's a country, what do you call it? Local, regional, and then global, right? So copyright now is more what in the US you would hear them call soft IP, because it's music and it's art and it's software, actually, because for us software is coding. It's the ones and zeros behind code. It's traditional and cultural expressions, the kiondo, the kikoi, the formula for muratina that has been discussed, in the last few weeks. So those things that are part of our softer, more expressive side are covered under copyright. Books, art, photography, sculpting, soapstone, because it's a whole thing in and of itself, right? So that's the ambit, and it's wider than that, but I'm sort of summarizing. So to start off, we have a foundational statute, multiple statutes covering those areas of IP. The second layer is how many of our legal fraternity understand it, so that now we can offer the services to those who play within the space. So it's mostly creatives, innovators, people who come up with solutions or new inventors. And how do we then support them? We need to understand what the law says, and then we need it to be tested. Right? It's nice to have nice clauses, but do they actually work? That's where the judiciary comes in now. So the bench, as we like to refer to them, we have judges now who can interpret what has happened. Mudachi says June stole from him. That thing that Mudachi thinks June stole, was it stealable in the first place? Could he even have said it was his? For example, we don't protect ideas. Mudachi sat here and said, I have an idea to do X. Then he never did anything. He never wrote the idea down. He never put it down as a business plan. He never put it in what we call a tangible format. But he maybe spoke about it. But then June, maybe in another life or somebody else in another parallel universe or existence, came up with the exact same idea but did something about it. Maybe a month later. But the fact that June did or registered or protected it gives June better rights than
the
Mudachi, who's still sitting with his correct, or the thinker of the idea. So we say we don't protect ideas in IP, we protect the expression of that idea in a tangible way. Okay, so the judge now has to sit and go, but the law says this, so actually, Mudachi, no, you're wrong. What does that start to give us? Jurisprudence, precedent, case law, because that tests the law and says it's actually solid. If it isn't, and we now start to have conflicts in gray areas, that's when now laws get amended, laws get improved, because maybe the theory that was written down is not practical. Okay, so that journey is ongoing in Kenya, and I think that's the thing that has grown more. There's a copyright tribunal headed up by one of my young ones called Liz Lenjo, who's doing an amazing job. And now there's a copyright tribunal where you can take your matters to the copyright tribunal and say, you people understand this copyright. We're having beef with June. Solve it for us.
Yep.
So that if the other judges aren't really skilled in this area, it's okay. We have now our own path. There's the Tribunal for KIPI, which handles trademark issues, patent issues. So now we have subject matter experts sitting in these courts or these tribunals. You can still appeal if you're not satisfied. Yes, you can still appeal, and there's a path for that. Then there's also the people who work in these government offices. What is their level of skill? What is their level of knowledge within the IP space? You expect it to be at the highest level because they're the ones saying yes or no to your registration application. If you try and register an application for a new type of mic and they say no, you want to believe that they have done the necessary groundwork to confirm to you why you can or cannot register the thing you've applied for. So I think all in all, we have made really good progress. I want to encourage anyone who's out there who's a creative, don't be afraid of, I don't want us to become US level of litigious, but we need to feel confident in the system enough to test it.
Yes.
Let it fail so that we know what's wrong.
So you know what to improve. And it may be a tweak. A small tweak that the failure
has highlighted that is required.
So would you say we're in a good place?
We're in a better place.
We're in a better place.
We still have a lot more to work on, in my opinion, just because I'll give you music and film and content as an example, and the tech space, the technological advancements, how quickly you are able to create content right now on your phone.
Okay.
And the process that content used to take before to be created. Somebody writes a script. The script becomes a screenplay. The screenplay becomes given to a director and a casting director to cast the actors. Then the actors go into rehearsal. And then now we shoot. So 6 months to a year to 2 years later, we have our content. What's happening now? I switch on my phone. And in seconds, we have content.
Yeah.
So the script outside, the casting director, whoever is there is the cast, right?
Yes.
So we don't have, in my opinion, a clear provision that quickly protects. And we always say the law plays catch up, right? It'll catch up to whatever advancements there are in the creative space.
The advancements are super fast now.
Super fast. So you need language that allows the creation to continue, but also be protected as it continues. Now we have interpretation. So what happened? And you look for, but this clause was written in 2001. Is it still valid 24 years later?
There's no TikTok.
There was no TikTok. There wasn't even Napster. I think Napster was just born. Now we have all these DSPs for music, streaming platforms. So I think that's the thing we need to do faster.
Yes.
You need to appreciate the advancements. And this is where legislators, who sit in parliament and come up with all these provisions, need to sit with guys of industry and understand, because they're not in industry. So we also need to play a part to say, by the way, this thing isn't working for us, my guy. Not at the point that it is about to be signed, then we go and complain. I think if we could switch one thing, is our active presence and commentary as the bill is being written.
Agreed.
Saying, Apple, let's explain to you
Public
why.
participation.
Yes. Earlier. Not
okay. June, we could talk till morning.
We could.
So,
we could.
as I started, Madam June Gachui, Group CEO,
Hey, come on.
JGIP Consultancy and JGIP Events. Always a pleasure talking to you. I think you've left me feeling like we should schedule
part two. I'm ready
to unpack bigger issues.
I have another dress.
But I think the issues that let those ones that we have unleashed today marinate.
Yes.
But I'll also give you a chance to just speak to the audience and speak about what you're doing, what's coming in the future, and anything you think is relevant to.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
And I love these conversations with you also because they make me think I could even do more, which is a rare thing.
Yes, you can.
Not many people challenge me the way you do. So I'll share one story very quickly. I remember when I had a challenge in my office, and I think I posted something on Facebook. You called me, you said, "Hey, where June? What's happening?" And I was like, "Oh, it's over. Everything." He said, "You don't cry, Bana. People will do that to you. Don't cry, Bana. Fix the problem." And I've never forgotten that. So thank you for being like a big bro, like a mentor here as well.
You're welcome.
So I would like you to treat yourself to the experiences that we create. I can talk about them for days, but I'd like you to allow yourself to enjoy them. So if you can, follow jgip.events. If you're those people who are on IG, if you're not, you can email us so that we can also get back to you. You can email admin@junegachui.com, or you can email me at june@junegachui.com, and we'll make sure that you get the details you need so that you can treat yourself, treat your family member, treat your spouse. Valentine's is coming. We have a couple of shows. And also, if you need IP work and you're creative, we're always hiring to have people on stage to perform, but also if you need legal work done to support the thing that you're creating, please call us before you create. We like to walk with you as your partner so that you can do the right things from the beginning. When you come and say, "I signed another contract," my heart starts cracking from the left, and then it's harder to solve the problem. So please get into the habit of consulting with some of these lawyers who can do work for you before the problem becomes too big. All right? And have a wonderful year.
Yeah, so that's June Gachui, purveyor of African excellence in multiple spectrum. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much once again for joining us in episode 9 of African Do Podcast. We have a pipeline of very, very interesting guests this year, and we're looking forward. So subscribe to our YouTube or Spotify channel, or both. Tell a friend, share if you found value or interest in what we're doing. We look to tell authentic African stories of entrepreneurial journeys, current and ongoing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and have a good 2025.